Okay, so this video came up on my own Facebook timeline from, gosh, like 7, 8 years ago. And I posted it sharing that it was really impactful to me. It really meant something to me, and I was encouraging other people to watch it. So I don't remember anything about it. I know that it's Matthew McConaughey, and I know that I really appreciate a lot of his wisdom. And so I thought it would be interesting to kind of watch it back together and see how I take it now. I mean, obviously, I was really inspired by it before. I'm curious if I'll even remember it, let alone have the same feelings of inspiration or motivation or whatever it was that prompted me to post it and encourage people to watch. So before we dive into this, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss a tutorial or upload. All right, let's give this a watch.
I'm going to talk to you about some things I've learned in my journey. Most from experience, some of them I heard in passing, many of them I'm still practicing, but all of them I do believe are true. Life is not easy. It is not. Don't try to make it that way. Life's not fair. It never was. It isn't now, and it won't ever be. Do not fall into the trap, the entitlement trap, of feeling like you're a victim. You are not. Get over it and get on with it. So the question that we got to ask ourselves is what success is to us, what success is to you.
Okay, this is interesting because, well, first off, I love that he's already starting with don't fall into the victimhood trap. That is something that is so easy to fall into, especially when we feel like we're not achieving what we want to achieve. So I love that he's about to go into talking about success. We've actually used another one of Matthew's little videos that he posted on his YouTube channel or Instagram, no, YouTube, I think, where he was talking about what success means. And so it's interesting for me to see that not only 7, 8 years ago, I was thinking about this and dealing with this, but also that he is equating this concept of self-victimhood with kind of not feeling success. At least that's where I think he's headed. So it's interesting. Let's keep watching.
Is it more money? That's fine. I got nothing against money. Maybe it's a healthy family. Maybe it's a happy marriage. Maybe it's to help others, to be famous, to be spiritually sound, to leave the world a little bit better place than you found it. Continue to ask yourself that question. Now, your answer may change over time, and that's fine. But do yourself this favor. Whatever your answer is, don't choose anything that will jeopardize your soul. Prioritize who you are, who you want to be, and don't spend time with anything that antagonizes your character. Be brave, take the hill, but first answer that question, what's my hill? So first, we have to define success for ourselves. And then, we have to put in the work to maintain it. Take that daily tally. Tend our garden.
Okay, I love that. I love that concept of tend our garden. So he's talking about like the big G goals, right? What does success look like? What is that thing that we're working towards? Super important. But then I love that he doesn't just leave it there, because I feel like a lot of motivational speakers and things like that, they get the goal thing. They totally get it. They hammer it home. But they forget that that is overwhelming, right? If that's what we're focused on, if that is the only target in front of us, it's incredibly overwhelming because it seems so far away. So then he talks about what is your hill, right? What is that hill that you are climbing? I don't know if he's heading in this like challenge direction with that. I mean, we often think about hills and mountains and stuff as like, these are the challenges that we're facing. Maybe he just means like, what is the next thing you need to work towards? What is the next hurdle you need to overcome, or whatever it might be? But he takes it next to keeping that tally, tending your garden. And that is talking about a daily habit, a daily routine. Love this.
The things that are important to us in good shape. Where you are not is as important as where you are.
Yes.
It is just as important where we are not as it is where we are. Look, the first step that leads to our identity in life is usually not, I know who I am. I know who I am. That's not the first step. The first step's usually, I know who I am not. Process of elimination. Defining ourselves by what we are not is the first step that leads us to really knowing who we are. You know that group of friends that you hang out with that they really might not bring out the best in you? You know, they gossip too much, or they're kind of shady. They really aren't going to be there for you in a pinch. Or how about that bar that we keep going to that we always seem to have the worst hangover from? Or that computer screen, right? The computer screen that keeps giving us an excuse not to get out of the house and engage with the world and get some real human interaction. Or how about that food that we keep eating? Stuff that tastes so good going down, it makes us feel like crap the next week. We feel lethargic and we keep putting on weight. Well, those people, those places, those things, stop giving them your time and energy. Just don't go there. I mean, put them down. And when you do this, when you do put them down, when you quit going there, and you quit giving them your time, you inadvertently find yourself spending more time and in more places that are healthy for you, that bring you more joy. Why?
That bring you more. See, gosh, man, I think I knew what I was talking about when I shared this before. This is good stuff. We'll dive into some of the details at the end, but let's keep watching.
Because you just eliminated the who's, the where's, the what's, and the when's that were keeping you from your identity. Trust me, too many options, I promise you, too many options will make a tyrant of us all. All right, so get rid of the excess, the wasted time. Decrease your options. If you do this, you will have accidentally, almost innocently, put in front of you what is important to you by process of elimination. Knowing who we are is hard. It's hard. Give yourself a break. Eliminate who you are not first. You're going to find yourself where you need to be. Instead of creating outcomes that take from us, let's create more outcomes that pay us back, fill us up, keep your fire lit, turn you on for the most amount of time in your future. We try our best, we don't always do our best. Architecture is a verb as well. And since we are the architects of our own lives, let's study the habits, the practices, the routines that we have that lead to and feed our success.
Exactly.
Our joy, our honest pain, our laughter, our earned tears. Let's dissect that and give thanks for those things. And when we do that, guess what happens? We get better at them. And we have more to dissect. Be discerning. Choose it because you want it. Do it because you want to. We're going to make mistakes. You got to own them. Then you got to make amends. And then you got to move on. Guilt and regret kills many a man before their time. So turn the page, get off the ride. You are the author of the book of your life.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, now I remember, I don't remember that at all, actually. So it's interesting that I shared that back then. But there's just so many thoughts running through my mind there. A couple of them I stopped and said along the way. I love that, again, that he's talking about, the importance of that big goal that we're working towards. But like what that really looks like is the day-to-day. It's the habits, the routines. We started talking about that towards the end. It's not about big grand gestures. It's about the day-to-day, those daily things that we do and the places and the people with whom we spend our time. And I know that sometimes when it comes to building habits, especially in our business, I've noticed that for myself, when I first started out really focusing on that, but also for a lot of my clients, when we approach starting better habits and building better habits, it can sometimes be really hard to figure out like what is that first thing that I need to work towards? What should my first habit be? What should that little 1% be? And I love that he's taking this from a perspective of, well, actually, don't don't worry so much about who you want to be, right? Because we talk about, and James, of course, James Clear, I love how I say that, like James, like he's my buddy. But James Clear talks about how our habits are taking us towards who we want to be, who we are trying to become. And I love that Matthew McConaughey is addressing here that answering that question of who I am, like I know who I am, that's a hard question. But we do often have an easier time answering who we're not. I know I'm not like that. I'm not this person. I don't do that. And so I think that it might be a little bit less overwhelming, I guess, to when we're thinking about, figuring out what our next habit is or whatever, to actually start with a little bit of subtraction first, to remove some things that we know are getting in our way. So, instead of our first habit being, like what is the next thing I need to add into my routine? Maybe we start with what is the first thing I need to remove from my routine. Some of the stuff he was talking about, those people that we might be spending time with that are not necessarily the best influence. I think that can also extend to people that we are following on social media and YouTube even, right? And like that are not feeding who we want to become, but instead are sucking our time or maybe making us think or feel a little bit more negatively than what we would like to be if we're trying to be more positive, right? Whatever that might be. I think it's interesting to think about it from that perspective of who can I spend maybe a little bit less time with, like maybe on social media, I need to not follow that person as much or at all. So that's interesting. But I also love that he talked about like those computer screens that we spend so much time in front of. And I can totally relate to this because I feel like my business is so online. It's very easy for me because especially with my clients being a largely virtual, right? A lot of them aren't even in the same country as I am. And so it's easy for me to forget about the need and the benefits of face-to-face meetups and getting to know people in person. And obviously I can't do that with some of my clients, but I can prioritize that a little bit more, and connect more in person with the people that are local to me, that are in my community. So I like that because I feel like that will absolutely not just open up avenues in my business and all of that, but just open me back up to connection with people in a more real way than, just that virtual connection. So I really like that. But I love this approach of let's subtract a few things first, things that are preventing us from having time to add new things into our routine. So I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, let me know in the comments if you feel differently about this, but when we approach, adding new habits and adding new things into our routine, I mean, sometimes I think that's troublesome or difficult because we can't think of what that next thing is. Maybe we're overwhelmed because there's too many ideas, right? Too many things we know we want to start doing. But I think a lot of the time it comes down to, where am I supposed to add anything? I'm so busy as it is. Like I don't have room to add something else. So maybe by taking that step of subtracting first, we actually make space to add in the things that we would rather be doing. So I kind of love that. And I think that we're going to do that in the academy because we've been doing these weekly habit challenges that are themed around a theme for the month. And I think maybe next month that theme is going to be subtraction. I think that's really an interesting thought. And just I love that he's talking about that the less time that you waste and spend on all of those things, whether it's just a time killer or it's actually sending you in a negative or bad direction for yourself, it's freeing up so much time and space for not only the things that we would rather be doing or becoming the person that we want to become, but it's freeing up space for contentment for gratitude, for happiness, for joy, all of those things. I love that. And then the last thing I wanted to comment on, so you guys know, because I've said this a couple of times here on the channel, I know I have, where I talk about this, I guess it's a 5-letter word that I don't like, the S word, should. And I love that he was talking about, like, do it because you want to do it, right? Focus on it because it's something that matters to you. And that's kind of what he's talking about, I think, that, don't do it because somebody or something is telling you you should do it. Don't pursue that goal or pursue that dream because you feel like you should. Pursue it because it means something to you, because it matters to you. And I really like that. So I'm going to share the link to this video. I don't know if he actually worked in conjunction with the account that posted that, because I don't remember back then, or maybe they just used his audio and did some video. I'm not really sure. But either way, I will post the link to the original video that I was watching in case you want to watch it again or share it with your friends and family and things like that, because I think it's just really, it is inspirational. And I'm not surprised actually that I had posted that on Facebook. But let me know what you think. What stood out most to you in what he was saying, and what kind of resonated in maybe a slightly different way for you this week? I hope that you liked that video, and more importantly, that you found it helpful. And if you did, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel and sharing it with a fellow solopreneur. And make sure that you check out the description for links for how we can connect and maybe even work together.